Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Hello, everybody. This is Chemo. Welcome to So There I Was. This is episode 163. We are going to take a piss on that.
Chemo, what was this with you and pissing, man? I don't get it.
I'm not going to get too far into admissions of ignorance of Rumble and things of that nature, but sometimes you need new material, repeat.
Yeah, there you go. All right. So this one was a real good show. It's going to be kind of like a VH1 behind the music. Who are some of our guests this week?
Well, we had an amazing day and evening with one of my most favorite, well, I'm sure one of our most favorite musical groups, Los Gringos.
We did indeed. And as well, we were joined by Los Gringos. We had T-Bone and Spec, who are in the band and joined in and talked about some of their work with the band. We also had Whacker and Easy talking about the Wings Over the Rockies Museum, for which the Gringos were playing a benefit concert. And they launched that day, June 7th, the day of the concert, the ability to invest in Winglore Spirits. You can buy a bottle of their product at winglorespirits.com or go to netcapital.com and invest in this. Explain what's unique about this company.
Tell you what's the coolest thing for me as an aviator, as a military aviator, is that this brand of alcohol is an amazing bourbon and single malt that has been created by pilots for pilots. And Repeat and I had a wonderful opportunity to taste those wonderful drinks at the concert as they demonstrated, but basically brought out their product for the first time. And we've probably had some veteran-owned beverages before in our lives. I'm sure you all have, but I can tell you this, between Repeat and I, it was amazing. That's all I'm going to say. It was very, very good. They have two brands like I talked about. One is called Nickel in the Grass. It's a single malt whiskey. And for those that don't know what that means, nickel in the grass, that is a historic legacy process, if you will, that occurs when a fighter guy or a fighter gal dies. There is a nickel that's thrown onto the grass. So that's the name of the single malt. And then they have their bourbon, which is called Bogey Dope, which I just love the name of, because it's a name that refers to, for those that don't know, when a fighter aircraft on an intercept per se, or going into a theater, is looking for situational awareness, they can ask for Bogey Dope, which is that request from the AWACS or the E2 for information that can give them the picture or describe the picture that's in front of them as they engage or go into that intercept. So that's pretty cool. And then, hey, Repeat, you should tell them about the auction at the end. It was pretty cool.
That was really cool. Near the end of the concert on June 7th, the Los Gringos auctioned off the first bottle of Bogey Dope, and I thought, I'm willing to throw a couple $100 at this thing. It'd be cool to have a neat. You and I couldn't afford it together, Chemo. Holy.
No, I think I stopped the numbers started going, and when it got to about $500, $600 for the bottle, I looked at my wife and she said, "Don't you do it." So I stopped.
Yeah. Good advice, because, you could buy a nice used car for less than what this bottle went for. It went for 10 large. So
$10,000.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that was money to help bring an F-16 to the Wings Over the Rockies. So a couple other people were there. So Whacker was there. He was describing the process of bringing the F-16 to the museum. And Easy was there. Easy was a heavy driver and was one of the primaries in Winglore Spirits. WingloreSpirits.com is where you can get yourself a bottle of either. As well, Carlos was there, and I thought you two were going to have a love fest over there in the corner, and that was particularly important because recently your friend Carlos, who is the CEO of Winglore Spirits, we almost had to throw a nickel in the grass for him, didn't we?
We did. He and I flew together post-military, but in support of military operations with some contract air services. And we flew the A4 together doing a lot of close air support missions in support of the Marine Corps. As we split coasts and he went out to the East Coast, he got into an event where he had to punch out of his A4. And I was already out of the biz, if you will, and heard about it. And he really hurt himself pretty badly. It was surprising to hear that it happened, and he had a lot of injuries. back then he was interested in spirits, and he always talked about it in the ready room and whatnot. And we were like, that's pretty cool. Well, good luck. And I never really knew where that was going to go. So during our interview, during our our back behind the stage kind of talk with Los Gringos, they were waiting for one of their bottles to be brought to the show so they could market it, sell it,
Talk
show
about
it.
it, yeah.
This guy came into the apartment, gave the bottle, and left. And all I heard was, "Hey, thanks, Carlos." And I literally perked up because I was watching the interview, and I looked over. I'm like, "Carlos who?" And it was Brother Carlos from the Contract Air Service world, and I couldn't believe it was him because I literally lost track of him. And I was able to get his number and tell him to come back. And I saw him since then, and I was just, it was just one of those things where you're seeing your bud, and you're so happy that he's just alive. And
Right.
So I couldn't get over that for most of the night, and I was so glad he was successful and doing well. It was a wonderful reunion, and I'll never forget that. So it was just a multi-axis great evening from a musical, cultural, legacy standpoint of aviation and spirits. So
Yeah, a wonderful day, and that's cool. I mean, there's a guy who came about as close as you can come to checking out and cheating death, as it were. He took the silk recovery, but
Yes, he did.
we're so glad that he's okay. And now doing this amazing company. So WingloreSpirits.com. Get yourself some of this whiskey, single malt whiskey. Couple other things. Oh, there's actually one more voice you'll hear on this week's show, and that is none other than your bride, Tatiana. So she came in and asked the Los Gringos a question about one of their songs, and they're all sheepish and embarrassed. Oh, we know what song it's going to be. And it wasn't that song. So that was kind of cool.
it wasn't. She got brought into the Los Gringos world back in the early 2000s when we did in our ready room up in Fallon with the Adversaries, and she kind of took a liking to it, and she has since always listened to it when she's doing her hair, when she's doing her makeup, whatever it is. She's always playing Los Gringos, and it's kind of like, my God, it's just so bizarre. That being said, there was one song, and I don't want to spoil it, so there was one song that she did ask me what this meant, and she said, "Stop. They're coming. This is going to be great. I'm going to ask them directly. Don't tell me what it is. I'm going to ask them what the hell this song is all about." So I'll leave it at that, but it was fun.
And so you'll hear that question and the answer, and I will play the songs in the show as after they've talked about some of their origins and that sort of thing. T-Bone and Speck are guitar and bass guitar players in the band, respectively. They were there. They talk about some of their role as Los Gringos, which is the band when the Los Gringos aren't there. A couple other quick notes. I need to thank our new section lead, Chick, pledging $10 a month at sotherewas.us/Patreon. Thank you, Chick. Welcome aboard. We're humbled by the fact that you have cracked open your wallet and shared with us. That's very kind of you. Also, the June giveaway, sotherewas.us/giveaway. Had a gent reach out to me. He was going to get us on the air with his grandfather who recently passed. So it wound up not being able to happen. But Alger Pete Peterson did 28 years in the Air Force, wrote a book, Takeoffs and Landings, Memories of God, Family, and Country. And that is our June giveaway. We're going to give away 4 of those books to people who help share the show. If you go to sotherewas.us/giveaway, you can see how you can help share the show. It's give us a rating. It's post about us on Facebook or X and get a chance to win one of these great books. 2 last things I want to say. This episode was recorded in our first large group setup with 4 mics and more than 10 people rotating through the conversation. My mic crapped out early. We did our best to capture it all, but you'll hear some room echo and some audio inconsistencies along the way. But that being said, the stories and the laughs are absolutely worth it, so stick around. You won't want to miss the stories and the content that's coming. And apologies up front for some of the audio quality. That's on me. The mics were not what I expected them to be when I purchased them and set it all up. The other thing I'd like to do is extend my deepest gratitude to Kimo and his bride, Tatiana. We did the show at their apartment in Denver, Kimo's crash pad, and man, he set up a breakfast spread with fruit and pastries and Bloody Marys, and boy, was that fun. And it would have been nowhere near as much fun if we'd have tried to do it in a cramped hotel room with no refreshments and no hospitality. So your hospitality was amazing. Thank you, sir.
Repeat, thank you so much. It was our pleasure to have you, of course, with So There I Was in in person, in-house with Dos Gringos. I mean, it was surreal for us. And I can tell you, for those that were worried about their nourishment, we had this spread of pastries and fruit and margaritas, and let it be known that the fruit and pastries remained and all of the margarita and vodka disappeared. So we did the right work in the right places and executed well. That's called, we had a bunch of fighter dudes and great aviators in the house. Repeat, regardless of the noise and the sound, you're right. The legacy aviator stories and everything that came from them and around that discussion was just wonderful. And I can't thank you enough for making something like this available for people to enjoy and learn about our culture. So thank you.
What do you say, Kimo? Should we get out of the way and listen to Dos Gringos and Los Gringos?
Absolutely. I can't wait. Thanks, everybody.
Don't sit on the ejection seat handle.
This here is a true story about crossing the pond at night in the world's smallest cockpit on the tanker through the weather. Oh, and to the tanker crew who did that, thanks a lot. We really appreciated that. I'm just kidding. No, I'm not. Well, there I was, crossing the pond, and you could see that I wasn't exactly fond of all the...
So there I was. And this one isn't necessarily a flying story, but this is a little bit about, I guess, fighter pilot culture. Which is a big part of flying, right? But when I was a young lieutenant in the Texas Guard, where Kimo ended up learning about F-16s, it was a unique mix of guys that raised me in the early 90s, because we had some old F-4 Vietnam era drivers and some of the very first guys out of the weapons school in the Viper. Okay. And the John Wayne room was the squadron bar there. So that's where a lot of the stories, 10% truth, partial lies, got told. And early on, music and song became a big part of the culture there. Some of the Dick Jonas stuff. And I was issued a Dick Jonas cassette and was forced to learn every song. The interesting thing about the early 90s, this was a drawdown after the first Gulf War. So I was the snacko for 5 years. And, yeah. Yep.
I think you're back to that role.
But early on, my impression of one of the really important parts of what we do was to go to the squadron bar after flying and tell stories and sing, and just recognizing what an important part of the culture was. And eventually getting once guys really started telling their stories, which, we always say in the debrief, you get some of the important, I guess they call them DFPs now, we used to call them lessons learned. Then at the bar, a little bit more comes out. And these guys would really start to talk about some of the times in Vietnam and some of those songs and what it meant to finish a mission where a couple of your buddies didn't make it and you're going to go fly that mission tomorrow. And so we toast whiskey and sing these songs now in a pretty lighthearted fashion, but for them, it was no kidding helping them get through it. One of the things, we're going to talk about Winglore Spirits a little bit, and I've got it there I was on this one. Okay. They have a photo on their website that tries to capture the essence of that. And the chairman of the board at Wings Over the Rockies is a gentleman named Charlie Johnson. He was a legendary F-105 driver. And I worked with him on a very frequent basis. He ended up being the CEO of Cessna Textron and like Arnold Palmer's pilot. Okay. And he goes, "Hey, man, where'd that picture come from on the website?" And I go, "I don't know. Those are the whiskey guys. They're going to be a big part of what we're doing today." He goes, "I know every single person in that picture." So tonight we're going to be able to put those guys together and make that story in the fiber in the context of that story even a little bit more rich. So that's not a flying there I was, but I think part of what we're celebrating tonight is the culture in this community is so overwhelmingly enthusiastic. The friendship, the brotherhood, and the love that is amongst the people in this industry that have flown the Viper and fighters in general, and that expands to the people that maintain them and supported us. It's such a rich part of our experience, and Dos Gringos is such a fun way to share that. So that's there I was, and if you want, I'll let you talk for a little bit, and then I'll tie together kind of how why we're all here today.
Okay, super. Yeah, so as we're recording this, it's the 7th of June, so 6/7, and it sounds like a bottle of whiskey maybe here.
I think it is.
So, the 7th of June, and we're recording with Wagger, who clearly was F-16. And did you do A-10?
Just F-16.
A-10 over there.
Yeah.
T-bone, yeah.
Here we go. And obviously the Dos Gringos in the middle. Easy gear, a token tanker driver.
Heavy guys. C-17, C-5.
Yeah. Right. Oh, yeah, no, there's no tank in there. Right.
No, I mean, we just are in receipt of all the gas. We just take it off, so to speak.
Yeah.
He's learning.
So, yeah, so that's it. And they're doing a concert tonight in benefit for Wings Over the Rockies Museum to try and bring an F-16 to the museum. I'm gonna jam the Air Force up right now. Lighten up your pockets, boys, and give them the damn F-16, all right? The Marines gave them a Harrier. Let's make this F-16 happen for them, too. Great museum. Get out here and see it if and when you can. But we're going to talk more all about that in a little bit. Do you want to talk more about the whiskey now? The whiskey scene?
Sure, I'll tee these guys up. But
okay.
Yeah, where this event came from was a couple months ago when we realized we could get an F-16 from Shepherd for the museum at Wings Over the Rockies. There's a gap between getting that thing, taking it apart on a flatbed, and getting it here. We've since found some more creative ways to do that. It's great how people rally around things like this, but it's a really big deal for the museum, and we need to raise some money for it. So I thought, what a better way to do that than to get, the two most semi-famous musicians in our industry. And it's now obviously extends beyond two. I love that it's originally Dos Gringos, but their whole band and all the people that love and support them. And we spent this much money on marketing, and through a grassroots campaign, we've now sold out Flight Code Brewery, which is one of our great partners in this event, just right around the corner from here where we are near the United Training Center and near the museum. And they're going to host us. And we're also sponsored by Winglore Spirits. So we're just really excited to have them be a part of supporting the museum. And near and dear to your heart, Repeat, we're also getting a Harrier soon. So there's going to be a lot of fun stuff going on. I know a lot of you didn't get your tickets in time. So this is going to live stream, but there will be a follow-on event where we actually dedicate the jet at the museum. And we hope to have like 1,000 people in the hangar and really have an even bigger Dos Gringos type celebration. So with that, super grateful to these guys and for supporting that.
And we'll bring a whiskey.
I'll give my one plug. So the website, dosgringosdenver.com. You can still get the ultra premium tickets, but if you can't, if that's not in your budget, and you can laugh, but there are 8 people now who have bought a $1,000 ticket to support the museum and to support these guys. You could make a donation as little as $20 or $50. I think that the buy-in for an airline pilot's $100. Anyway, with that, I want to let these guys talk a little bit.
So, Winglore Spirits. This is an effort we've been undertaking for a couple of years now. So it started really with almost 3 years ago when Trip finally left active duty. We talked about trying to reach out to the Jeremiah Weed folks because that really hadn't gone so well for a number of years. And we were looking to figure out, can we resurrect that brand? We know it tastes god awful, but it's part of the community, right? We thought that it's cultural. That's right. And it turned out Jeremiah Weed is actually owned by Diageo, like the world's largest spirits company.
So now they're going to sue us because we just said that Jeremiah Weed's awful.
Just thought I'd freedom of speech.
I think they owe us money is what I think.
Yeah, frankly.
I haven't seen my check from Jeremiah Weed yet, yeah.
Yeah, there was a reason. There was a reason that they only sold Jeremiah Weed around Air Force bases for probably 20 years. And these guys were a big part of that. So after that didn't work out for about 6 months, we started talking about maybe we could make something that doesn't suck instead. So we started down this path of how do we go about starting our own whiskey company. And along that path, we actually came across a couple fellow travelers who were big Dos Gringos fans. Carlos and Stroke are our other 2 co-founders, and started talking about what would it look like if we got together. Carlos is a real entrepreneur. He's the owner of fighterpilot.com and has undertaken some efforts through that website. He comes from a family. His uncle has run for 20 years a very successful tequila brand, so he spent some time in the business. So we started talking, what would this look like if we got together? And then we stopped talking because we hadn't heard from him for like a month.
And I start texting him. I'm like, Carlos, did you change your mind?
Yeah, where'd you go?
Okay, it's fine. No big deal. And he sends me a text with a link to a news article about it, someone ejecting from an airplane on the ground was it Cherry Point, North Carolina?
Yeah.
He was flying for one of the contract Red Air companies and actually ejected. And he almost died. I mean, it was rough. So
he hadn't called us back for a pretty good reason.
And I said, that's a terrible. Yeah, I said that's a terrible excuse, Carlos. We have a business to
hospital.
But you really have to appreciate how he really committed to the story. Really,
he was that into it.
He was that into it. He was going to follow the story, punch out of an airplane, and then start.
So we might not have spent a lot of money marketing events like this, but that's like in kind marketing.
Yeah, sacrificing the body.
Whatever you can.
So we felt pretty bad that for a couple weeks now we were like, where is this guy? We're just gonna have to go do this without him. And then we heard from him and got on a plane a couple days later and flew down to see him. He was out of the hospital at this point, but still in and out of a wheelchair, sleeping in a hospital bed in his living room. And we spent 2 days talking about whiskey. And at that point we decided, Carlos probably not going to fly an airplane again, but running a whiskey company is probably solidly in his wheelhouse.
It turns out he's also flying.
And it turns out he's, now 15 months later, he's back at it.
He's back at it, and now transitioned to more full-time running with the whiskey, the launch of Winglore, and also Stroke is on the team. We got others on the team as well, and it was a natural tie-in to bring in the culture that Wacker talked about, the music. It's not always tied to drinking, but it's a big part of it, right? So I think, the debrief, the camaraderie often is amplified by a good whiskey. And this is not the kind of whiskey you're going to drink with, mixed with Coke. We'll allow you to put an ice cube in it, but, or make an old fashioned or something. But like, this is premium stuff. And like Easy talked about, we decided to, if we're not going to go down the Jeremiah Wheat path, let's go the exact opposite and get into the ultra premium. And that's what this is. We got two versions, or two expressions they call them within Winglore. One is an American single malt that we call Nickel on the Grass, which has a story behind that as well. And then the other is a bourbon that we call Bogey Dope, and that's what you see here. We're really excited. And Bogey Dope, if you're not familiar, that's what you say on the radio when you're a little bit lost and you need a little bit of help. Well, there's your help. And we're real proud of it. That is nearly identical to what the final bottle that is going to be in stores very soon. It's not exactly it, but it's pretty damn close.
There's some important parts of that bottle too. So if you take a look at the back, you'll notice at the top of the bottle on the back, you have a line there for your Joker level, and at the bottom, you'll see a similar bingo line.
Yeah.
We haven't done the investment yet in the technology to automatically reorder the bottle when you hit the bingo line, but that's coming in the future.
Yeah. So Joker is a fuel state that you have in your mission planning that tells you it's time to start thinking about going home. In this case, when you hit Joker, it's time to start thinking about buying another bottle. And we decided to move that Joker line really fast. Yeah, it's really, we're very conservative. Just like I always do. I never run out of gas in 20-something years of flying Viper, and it's because very conservative with my fuel planning. And I never run out of whiskey for the same reason, and you shouldn't either. When you hit bingo, like it's a serious, break glass. Initially, you'll be able to buy it online through our website at wingloreспirits.com. WINGLORE spirits.com. You'll see it's pretty easy. Just click the link and how much?
The airline pilot discount?
Sure. Airline pilots, I won't say the exact price. It's in about that $80 range.
And it'll be available starting early July, it looks like, is when we'll first be up on the website.
And then we'll launch in about 5 to 6 regional, geographic places and retail, liquor stores, etc. You'll start seeing it in AFES, locations, at like Class 6s and stuff. And yeah, I think that's about it.
Yeah, I'll come back to the capital piece maybe after you guys. This is actually, you'll be able to get
tonight for you guys to just be envious who are watching this. It'll be all, we have a couple of, we call them mocktails, not like the non-alcoholic ones.
Yeah, we put the boom back in mocktails.
Yeah. M-A-C-H tails. Yes. I will show you the RMO. I'll cover that later because it'll tie into the end. But yeah, we have a couple of mocktails. We'll have a mile highball today in honor of being in Denver, with our American single malt. And then we'll have, the Bogey Dope Old Fashioned, available, as well as a bunch of swag and, really cool shirts and hats and Speedos and whatever you like.
All right. Very cool.
Yeah, those are great call to market, Speedo. Yeah, I'm glad we made that choice.
Before we move on, let me get into the thing we always ask everybody, and we covered it with you guys too, but Easy, how'd you look at airplanes and go, I'm going to do that?
Ever since I was a kid.
Okay.
So for me, I think I was probably 5 years old and I realized I wanted to fly airplanes, and spent the rest of my childhood figuring out how I could do that.
Okay.
Knew that eventually I had to go to college in order to make that happen. I know, it was crazy. So that was just a means to an end to get to flying for me.
Yeah.
Went and got an ROTC scholarship, went to Boston University, actually where I went to school with Trip. That's when we met. We both went for ROTC together there, long time ago now. But it was, that was all a means to an end to get me to power train.
Very cool. Awesome.
I'm going to say it again.
I think so, yeah.
Okay. So, 1988, I want to say. My family, we moved around a lot for my dad's work and stuff like that. But I think it was 88, we moved to Blytheville, Arkansas, which is the home of Acre Air Force Base at the time, B-52s, KC-135s.
Landed a Roman cheetah on that runway.
Back in the old Cold War days. But no, I mean, it was real simple. I just went to my first air show. I was 12 years old, I guess. And that was it. It's like, that's it. Whatever they're doing, that's it, you know? Yeah. I mean, and so it was that clear. And then, so yeah, in high school, I was like, all right, who gets the most pilot slots? And they're like, the academy. And I was like, well, I'll go there. And then for 4 years, I was like, son of a bitch, why didn't I go to Boston University?
So my story is a little different. I had no concept of flying growing up. It wasn't a thing that anyone in my family did, military or anything. It just wasn't normal in the part of the country I grew up. There wasn't a base nearby or anything. So I really had no idea until about high school. I got a letter from ROTC. They're like, you want to try this? And I said, oh, I guess maybe they'll pay for school. Sounds fun. I'll go be an engineer in the Air Force. And then I got there and they're like, do you want to fly planes? And I was like, people don't just fly planes. Are you fucking kidding me? And it turns out, yes, you do. So they told me it's possible, and they're like, oh yeah, we'll pay for school. I'm like, what's the catch? So eventually I ended up going that path and getting more passionate. The more I learned that it was a real thing people could actually do, I was like pretty much hooked. A couple of flights in Cessnas. My uncle actually flew, in childhood, and I did enjoy that, but I really had no idea that military flying was a thing that could be done.
It's kind of fun to hear these. My story is a little different. I appreciate you hosting us near the United Train Center. I grew up an hour north of here in a little farm town, and my dad was drafted in the Marines during Korea. And so I knew his history of service a little bit, and I thought that was cool. But all we were worried about up there was, playing sports and didn't have much career perspective, not a lot of aviation experience. But one day I did a shadow day at the United Train Center in the 80s with a guy in the neighborhood that he had a nicer car than we did. I think he had a boat, and it appeared that he didn't work a lot. And so I was like, as I'm assessing different ways to make a living, I'm like, I should probably figure out what he does. And he came to United Train. I came here with him. He got pulled into a meeting, and there were a couple of interns from Florida Tech, which is where I ended up going. And I just went down there, played baseball, and it's like, yeah, I'm just going to be an airline pilot at United someday and not work very hard and make a lot of money. And I stumbled upon the Guard. And so I went that route. I started pledging Guard units. Once I figured out all the things these guys discovered, I'm like, you can do that part-time and make money as an airline pilot? Sign me up. So I got pretty lucky, and I tried super hard to get into a Guard unit, ended up in Texas for a few years, and then back in my home state of Colorado, I got to fly. I was here for 20 years. So while also being a Delta pilot. So it worked out great for me.
And I think I met you in Iraq probably the first time.
Yeah.
Because we were at the same base in Iraq flying Vipers. And then I mean, you crossed paths. It was really cool.
Again, in Korea. Yeah, you were the squadron commander in Korea. And it's, what's really fun, the most fun for me by far was the camaraderie piece. I mean, the reason I did it first, I love flying, love the F-16, but the reason I stuck with it as long as I did is, the people you got to do it with and the good times we had and to be able to kind of continue to celebrate that well after we're done flying is a real privilege. And that's, I think for all of us, this is part of our way we kind of hope to give back to that community and keep it vibrant for the next generation so they can partially enjoy some of the things that we got to enjoy.
It'll never be quite to that level.
Right? Hopefully not.
Yeah, obviously, if I'd only known about the guard, if I'd known then what I know now, I'd have been willing to commit felonies to get into the guard.
Yeah, you'd be in great company. They're mostly felons.
That's true. Lots of felonies.
We could, if it's free flowing and we want to kind of like move musical chairs, you guys want to come out?
T-Bone from Phoenix. That trip, I was in a band with this guy, Speck over here, called Steel Wool, which started at Kunsan Air Base and is still going after, 20 years. And Steel Wool had just kind of fizzled out in Phoenix, and Trip got stationed at Luke and gave me a call and said, "This is Trip Raymond. Do you know who I am?" I said, "Yes, I've heard of you. I want to play some music." I said, "Absolutely." So we started a band together, and we couldn't call it Los Gringos, so we called it Los Gringos. And we added Speck on bass and Beasley on drums. And Los Gringos has been going now for, 15 years.
Yeah, in various forms.
And so they're kind enough to have Los Gringos back them up when they're Dos Gringos. So we're kind of the studio band for these guys. I flew A-10s and F-16s. And
how'd you start that?
My dad was a fighter pilot. He was Joe McConnell's wingman in F-86s in the Korean War, the top jet ace of all time for us, and flew in Vietnam. So I grew up watching him zip up a flight suit and jump on his Vespa and cruise off and run up to his jet and go fly while my friends' dads were putting on ties and hats and coats and carrying briefcases. I was kind of like, that's the way to go.
It is a good thing he was that cool. Because getting on a Vespa kind of takes a while.
He was a fighter pilot, so what were they going to say? He would ride it right up to his jet. So anyway, that was the way I started. Flew A-10s for 5 years, F-16s for 16 years, Southwest Airlines for 18 years, and just recently retired. Got kicked out for ageism.
Why don't we go to you? Because I think we were really hard. You already know us.
Well, my dad was a flight doc in the Air Force, so I grew up around airplanes, and we got stationed in Holland when we had F-4s. Those so they were the F-4s were cool when they got F-15s, and like, wow, those guys are pretty cool. My dad wanted me to be a doctor, but he worked way too hard, and the pilots looked like they just had a great time and didn't work as hard as doctors do. So that's why that happened, and I got into F-16s. Fortunately, did that for 22 years, and been playing bass for a couple of days, and I got invited to come hang out with these guys. So it works out pretty well.
Fantastic. All right. So, and
all right.
How long is it? You said about 15 years with Gringos?
15 years with Speck and T-Bone and various number of other folks. We've had
stunt drummers,
lots of drummers and tambourine players and stuff. Me and Snooze have been at this since
23
years. We met in 2001.
Yeah.
At Cannon Air Force Base, New Mexico. That was my first assignment after training in the F-16, my first combat unit. And turns out Snooze was about a year ahead of me, and he was my sponsor. Do you guys have sponsors in the Navy? Like, yeah. He's the person you call and be like, where should I live? What deployments do I need? I remember calling Snooze on the phone, and he was at Nellis TDY or something, and I'm showing up at Clovis, New Mexico, and I'm like, hey Snooze, like, nice to meet you. I'm Rob, and like, what should I do? Where do I go? And he's just like, I'm not there. I'm at Nellis. He'll just talk to you when I get back. So this is a man of few words, unless they.
I think I was actually sitting on I was in Fort Worth. This was post 9/11.
9/11, yeah.
So I was sitting in a trailer, on 5-minute alert. Out at
Carswell.
Carswell.
Who the fuck is this guy? Who is this dude? Stop bothering me, new guy. So I'm like, man, that guy's a jerk. And then I met him, and I was like, yeah, he really is a jerk now. And we started talking about music, because musicians just find a way to start talking about music, just like pilots always find a way to start talking about flying. Once I learned that he played guitar and I played guitar, we started playing, and then I learned that he had written some songs that my only exposure to fighter pilot songs was in the B course at Luke, where they made us learn a new song every week, and it was super fun. And then here comes Snooze, who had written some songs that you all know probably that are classics. He wrote them in the B course. You got to tell that story. To me, that's amazing, because once I learned that and started playing, I was like, this is super fun. Clovis is not going to be so bad.
That'd be a great answer to one of my questions, which song came the easiest to you? It just kind of flowed out of you.
Oh, that was Two's Blind.
Okay. Yeah.
That song, I had the worst ride of my life. I just going through MQT. We were out at Nellis because they had ripped up the runway at Cannon. Okay, so we were out mission qualification training.
Okay.
All right, so Two's Blind is when you can't see your flight lead, and obviously you have one job. The flight lead makes all the decisions. They're out in front. They're navigating. They're telling, they're the decision maker.
Two airplanes called a two ship, lead and number two. Lead's job is to have total SA and do everything. Two's job is not to lose sight of number one. That's his only job.
It's like a division. What do you call it? A section? Section.
Right. So one of the best ways I ever heard it put was Do-Man, rest in peace, said, the only reason you're here is because I can't carry 10 AMRAAMs. Just kind of puts you in your place.
Yeah.
So all you got to do is stay visual. And so we're doing, it's low level, close air support out at Nellis, flying going into the target 500 feet, doing a, what we'd call a 10-20 pop, where lead pops up to 10 degrees, number two pops up to 20 degrees, one rolls in first, two follows them, boom, drop your bombs, try not to hit number two, and then as you try to reform formation, hopefully you still have sight of number one. So first run, one pop, me pop, Two's blind. I can't see him. And he's like, and by the way, he's the deputy OG. So he's not, whatever, he's old school. Talks me back on. Okay, there you are. Okay, Two's visual. All right, let's do this again. Just again, stay visual. I need you to stay visual. You got it. One pop, two pop, Two's blind. Son of a bitch. And it's like, now I can hear he's trying to be professional on the radio, but it's starting to come loose a little bit. And he's like, again, just stop focusing on whatever. As we make this turn, you've got to stay visual. That is how we keep from, mutual support and keep from hitting each other. Okay, I got it. I'm like, stay visual. I'm all amped up. So here we go. And he's like, don't fuck up. Last one. One's up, two's up, one's in, two's in. I lose them again. And this is where I go, but I'm not going to call it. To hell with this. I'm going to find a way out of this. As I'm doing 500 knots low altitude. And so my solution was to throw my radar into automatic slew and just pull towards where I think he is and pray for lock. And I pull, and I go, this is getting really bad. I do a complete 360. Nothing happens. And finally I went Two's blind. And that's when he looked down at our air-to-air TACAN, which tells us how far apart we are from each other. We are 10 miles away from each other. And he, when the booster, it's like, knock it off, going home. and you're just sitting there in the debrief, and it's like, you know, like, I mean, he's like, there's no score low enough that I can, you know, like, what the if and this. I mean, that's the most, you know, all this other stuff. And I was like, I know. You know, it was just horrible. And I went back to my room and I just sat there, but we were there for 6 weeks. So of course I had my guitar, and I wrote that song in 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Seriously, there was no rewrites. There was no edits. If I had the piece of paper, I wrote it that night. All of it. I didn't have to go back and like redo it later on. It was that's how easy that song came out.
Did you ever get to talk to the OG, and did he hear the song? And
you know, I never actually went back to,
He's probably still mad. That is has always been my favorite song that we get to play together. And even to this day, it's been 25 years almost, and I still have to like focus on not laughing when I hear that song played. If I listen to the lyrics, like if I listen, I'm just like, oh my God, that's hilarious, because we've all been there.
Anyone who's flown tactical,
all been there. Yeah. These new pilots with their fancy shit, I don't know that they understand what being blind is anymore. It's not the same, maybe, but at least they have an appreciation for what the old guys had to go through.
Yeah, there's always a bit of, you guys all know this, where like you have an idea, but that idea also has to have the right circumstances. Sometimes it's like, I have a chord progression in my head or a melody or something, but I don't have the words. There's times you got the words, but you don't have the whatever. Right. And they don't quite marry up, right? Like if you've got like something that's, like, you know, I mean, this was real pain that I was experiencing at that time. So it wasn't like this was going to be a happy song.
True art comes from suffering.
Right. You know, it wasn't going to be an upbeat, like, I was blind all the time. And that, but, you know, like, no. I mean, it was like one of those where just the chords just kind of came out, where it's like, you know, like Spinal Tap. It's in D minor, saddest of all the chords. Or the keys, you know, and just like, I just got lucky, is what I'm trying to get at, is that whatever that feeling, I was able to capture it, because sometimes you just can't, you know. You and I have tried where it's like you want so bad to finish the song and you just can't capture it. Either, you know, lyric wise, chord progression wise, something, you know. So yeah, that's a really long answer to that question, but
yeah.
Taxied out over 12 Chevrolet feet, and I lost count of who's one and who's three. It's nothing new, it happens every time. Over Victor, two's blind. We took off on a radar-assisted trail. I tried a boreside lock and got an FCR fail. Then Lee turned into the sun like he does every fucking time. Oh, son of a bitch! Dude's blind. Is he so damn hard to see? Well, it must be his flying, 'cause it damn sure isn't me. We got spiked, and lead went to the notch. But when he did, I had my eyes down in my crotch, 'cause I had an itch. When I looked up, Only jack shit did I find. God damn it! Two's blind. Oh, we pushed to the target, and Lee said, just keep side. But then he action left when I swear to Jesus that he breathed right. It's times like this where I feel a bit resigned to just fucking eject rather than admit that I am blind. Dear God, what the hell have I done wrong? Is it 'cause I drink and smoke and cuss and repeatedly stroke my schlong? And I do. And needless to say, my IP busted me. He gave me a 0, and I think it's clear that I earned a 3. 'Cause what he doesn't know is that he's lucky to be alive. When I said I was visual, I lied my ass off. I was blind.
Well, we actually have chemos right here. Come on in, Tatiana. We had to sit down next to Spec. And
Let's stay close to you.
she's got a question about one of your songs.
Okay.
And, she's going to ask it. Chemo and I offered to tell her the answer last night. What did it even is?
Gee, I wonder which song that would be.
It's not what you think.
Oh, that's right.
All right. Thank God.
What is squiggly porn? Because I know porn, but I don't know squiggly porn.
Same, or, go on. Okay.
There's actually a porn site that is geared towards women.
What?
Sorry. That's what I do on my website. It's no different than other porn, so I don't really know what the deal is, but I don't know what squiggly porn is. And they wanted to tell me last night, and I said, no. I want to hear it from you guys.
I mean,
I had nothing to do with that.
I heard that.
I'm trying to remember when.
Well,
no. Right after a Nellis thing.
it's Nellis. So Nellis, this was again early 2000s, but this stuff, I mean, that was early 2000s would be the end of that kind of era where you have scrambled channels. And I don't know what cable system Nellis had, but they had, your standard like 30 channels back then, right? Your sports channels, your news channels or something. And then right at the end of like in the 30s, it started to get a little weird, like you get the C-SPAN, and then you get to like some closed circuit, whatever. And then there was a scrambled channel, and it was just all scrambled, squiggly. And it was clearly pornography. And if you watched it long enough and had the proper motivation, you're like, I see it. Yeah, right there. That's it. That's, yeah.
Well, every now and then it would be unscrambled just for a couple seconds.
And you wonder.
Ask me for a friend.
Now,
You wonder.
I know this to the
money shot.
This was at Nellis Air Force Base in the visiting officers' quarters. Because again, to all you young kids out there, your other option was to walk into a cement building with no windows and go, I'd like to buy one of these pornographic VHS videos.
So, and
It wasn't on your phone. It wasn't on the internet. It was,
Yeah, we have too much pride for that.
Maybe it was
That's a song that I remember distinctly recorded in the second album. That wasn't even on the list. We're having beers on your couch.
That's right. That's right. We didn't plan on that.
And a couple of guitars, and we wrote that one in like 20 minutes, and we did it in maybe one take. That's a live take song.
Okay, I'm gonna do it again. I'm out TDY. Sometimes I'm a rolling stone. But there are nights I stay in my room, 'cause I wanna be alone. I just wanna get some me time, a chance to feel reborn. I dim the lights and lock the door and cuddle up to squiggly porn. Sure, there are real pornos, but I'd rather not. It makes me feel all dirty inside, and I know that I'd get caught. With my friend squiggly porn, I get that same cheap thrill, without naked sorority grandma 6 showing up on my Visa bill. Yeah, squiggly porn, you're always around. I keep coming back, though you let me down. You give me a tit, then you take it away. I'm still looking forward to that special day when I can see some poontang and chicks making out, and it ain't all distorted. Yeah, there won't be a doubt that I conquered the beast. Then what will I do? Squiggly born, I'll miss you. That's a taker. I almost started cracking up because I was listening to the lyrics.
Yeah, it wasn't like we sat down and said, let's write a song. You would always do this where you would just play.
Yeah.
Just play chord progressions. And then all of a sudden I'd just be like, I don't know. I was like, or we'd make a joke or something like that.
For Snooze, you should write a song about the greatest wingman who ever lived. Called Shaved Dog's Ass. And he'd be like, give me 12 hours. And he comes back with Shaved Dog's Ass. That's how bad.
Did you have a wingman that was actually, did you have somebody in mind that was Shaved Dog?
That person doesn't exist.
Yeah.
We wish that. We wish that. Yeah, that's the idea.
It's what we all strive to be.
Yeah, it was because every naming ceremony, we would throw out a bunch of bullshit names that we're not going to name somebody, but we wanted to like kind of
scare them,
right? So like, I mean, I don't want to say some of them. Yeah, they're pretty bad. They're pretty bad. And and everybody, and then for some reason, and I don't even know like what is a shaved dog's ass, but somebody. It's like somebody yelling Freebird. Somebody goes, shaved dog's ass. And then somebody else. Next thing you know, the whole place going, shaved dog's ass. Shaved dog's ass. And then we kick the person out and give them a real name. But we were talking, after a couple of drinks, we're like, but what if? What if? What's one time we actually named somebody shaved dog's ass? And I think you're the one who said it, but he'd be the greatest wingman of all time. And that was the light bulb,
We actually did name someone at Aviano in Italy Shaved Dog's Ass. And we always said, Shaved Dog's Ass. We had to say it that way.
With the Italian flair. Shaved Dogs.
Cane risata.
SDA for short?
Yep, SDA.
Nice.
This is like VH1 behind the music.
Yeah.
What else?
Yeah.
For storytelling stories.
walked into the squadron in the summer of '02. And since that time we've never been the same. This wingman who would soon become a legend in his time, he never spoke, so no one knew his name. But after his arrival, there was never an empty keg, and always a fresh new batch of corn. And the coffee was the best that your lips would ever taste, and the shitter was always filled with porn. And he rode into battle with his back against the sun, and he saved us all, for we knew he was the one. And his name was Shaved Dog's Ass. The greatest of wingmen was he. He only said to lead you're on fire and save the fat one for me. We soon went off to war, and the fighting was intense. The enemy snuck up from the hills, and he always got the tally first, but never did he shoot. Just sat back as flight leads got the kills. And he never would complain when lead would fuck him over. The thought never even crossed his mind. 69 times they notched press at night, lights out, no mood, Shaved Dog's ass. Not once did he go blind. And he rode into battle with his back against the sun, and he saved us all, oh, we knew he was the one. And his name was Shaved Dog's Ass. The greatest of wingmen was he. He only said to lead you're on fire and save the fat one for me. With victory secured, we set out on the town to celebrate this war's final end. And we came upon some ladies who were looking for heroes, but only if we had one for their friend. She stood 6 feet 4, 300 pounds, more facial hair than me. You could say she was a football coach's dream. And we all jumped back in horror as we started to abort. Shaved Dog's ass stood up and took one for the team. And he rode into battle with his back against the sun, and he saved us all, oh, we knew he was the one. That was the last we ever saw of the world's greatest wingman. I'd like to think he's watching us from above. Or maybe he's just sitting on some tropical island, he and Sasquatch, happily in love. And I think about him often as I'm eating shitty corn, and the coffee is burned to the glass. So to all you wingmen out there who are looking to be the best, just heed the lesson of the legend of Shaved Dog's ass. And he rode in the battle with his back against the sun, and he saved us all. Oh, we knew he was the one. And his name was Shake Dogs. The greatest of wingmen was he. He only said to lead you on fire and save the fat one for me.
You told it in the first one we had you guys on. Tell us story about fish spent all money. And no one can hear you, so he'll repeat the question.
Okay,
question
so asking about the bitch spent all my money. So I don't know. We were over there.
A song that has all the wives gather in front whenever the band plays.
Kind of.
And it's like their anthem.
And I will
Yes,
say,
I
like,
did. I
most
spent
of the
all-
time we play that, there are couples that slow dance to it.
It's wild. Yeah,
It is the weirdest thing you'll ever see.
that is true.
They're like really get into it, and I assume the ladies don't really know what the song's about until the chorus. But anyways, it's fun.
No, it was one of those moments. I was in the mission planning cell during. I'm not sure if OIF or Ike Freeman had kicked off yet. It might have still been Southern Watch. Doesn't matter. We were over there living, tax free, right? So we're getting an extra, it's about like the song says at that time, it was about an extra $1,000 a month into your paycheck because it was tax free. And this was like right at this is where online banking is kind of starting to become a thing. And, so guys would be checking their bank accounts like, you know what I mean? Like, making bank. Well, I'm sitting there like, I specifically remember myself like kind of being off in the corner. I was working on something. I don't know. And all I hear is, bitch, quit spending my money. And the guy was checking his account and it was just, she was. And
he screamed. He was like,
stop. And if I imagine in a flight suit and my pin, I just went. And I walked back later that night and I go, this has to happen.
Oh, yeah.
This has to happen.
Yeah.
So
We wrote a bunch of good songs
But-
at deployment that were inspired by real life.
now tell them about when we got to the recording studio. Because I started to have sweats at this point because I didn't want to say bitch. Because I'm talking about our wives.
Yeah.
And
What we got through it because we were able to play the card where like it's not about you, honey. It's about these other guys and their wives.
you were very like you were like, dude, game this out. My wife spent all my money, not funny. The woman spent all my money, not funny. The girl spent, what's funny? Bitch is funny. Sing it. And I go, that's easy for you to say. You're playing the guitar, man.
With the guitar.
With all the confidence. I mean, you were like my wife, my wife spent all my money, not funny. My girl, not funny. Like
That's right. I have like the perfect role in this band where I get to have really terrible ideas and I don't have any consequences of those ideas. They don't come to him. Minor consequences, but I can always be like, I just play guitar, man. I don't know what he's talking about.
I make $1,000 extra bucks each month, and you would think with that amount I'd have a positive number inside my checking account. How many times can one woman hit an ATM in a day? Well, you can bet your ass that a BVR bitch slap is on its way. I got a story to tell to you, and man, it ain't funny. After 5 months TDY. Yeah, you said it, not me. I know when I get home, you wanna wear something cute, but who the hell pays $100 for just one bathing suit? How about that $200 for just 2 pair of shoes? Man, I only spent $15 paying off my LPA dues. Yeah, I got taken to the bank today by my own honey bunny. After 5 months TDY, let me hear it. And the bitch spent all my money. You know I still love you, baby. Yeah, but something's missing. Gotta feel like the bitch here, and a federal found me in the ass prison. Besides, it's not even gonna matter when I get home. I don't care what you do. You can shave your head, grow out your leg hair. Hell, I still bone the shit out of you. Yeah, it's not fair, 'cause I still love you, honey. I've been 5 months TDY, and the bitch spent all my money. Yeah, don't laugh, 'cause it could happen to you. And man, it ain't funny. I've been 5 months TDY. Thank you, and thank you for these.
So with that being said, where were you guys? Because since you're not Navy, I know that you don't deploy like the Navy guys do.
Yes.
Where, oh, you
Not on boats.
Not on the boat.
Or ships.
So, so what about the vibrator? Whose wife?
Oh,
I can't. I can't.
Boy,
I honestly, the guy cannot tell that story.
That's just, you'll just say that's pure fantasy inspired by
Sure.
humans.
I've known Snooze for a long time now, and I just recently heard the actual story behind that
I
song
can't.
after all these years. And, that's probably the last one.
Well, as Navy wife, I can say it's probably true.
That's probably.
It's good that you think that.
I mean, there was echoes of that to where, you know, like the wives would get talking, and then some, you know, like one of the guys would be grumbling, like, I don't know why she needs it. It's like, dude, what are you complaining about? Like, you know, I don't know why. So I was just kind of like making fun of, you know, guys are like getting, you know, butt hurt, so to speak.
Name of the song is called My Wife's Vibrator. I used to be such a happy guy. Thought things were good between my wife and I. But now I just hang my head in shame. Since the day that I found the thing that turned my world upside down. No, I'll never be the same. Since I found my wife's vibrator stuffed in a cotton sock. My wife's vibrator, a perfect replica of a cock. My wife's vibrator, it was so big and fat. How the hell can I compete with that? My wife's vibrator. I picked it up, it weighed a ton. Took 4D batteries to make it run. And the writing on the side said its name was Slim. Is this what it takes to feel alive? 3 fucking gears and an overdrive. When I turned it on, all the lights went dim. When I found my wife's vibrator, what is this all about? My wife's vibrator. That thing will knock her feelings out. My wife's vibrator. Don't you dare laugh. I swear to God it's gonna split her in half. My wife's vibrator. She came home earlier than planned, with me holding Cockzilla in my hand. And I just stood there in a trance. She said, well, now that you know, is there any chance you want to give it a go? I fell to the floor and I pissed my pants. When I found my Ross vibrator, I think they're full of shit. There's no way you could make it fit. My wife's vibrator. Who did they model it on? That motherfucker's got one hell of a schlong. My wife's vibrator. I found my wife's vibrator. Yes, I found my wife's vibrator.
"12-inch penis" is not confusing at all. I don't understand the confusion.
Not confusing.
That one.
Explain what that is. And this is our show's theme song.
Ah.
Because so there I was.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So that one's pretty much. I veered off into. I took something that was very, very true, and I couldn't just like describe the whole. It'd be like a documentary if I just kind of put everything like that what you do when you're going over the Atlantic. So there's some absurd portions of that song, but
which song? They can't hear us.
12-inch penis. But I can just tell you that you have to imagine we crossed the Atlantic in December. This is the trip that I based all this on. And so you've got, let's just start with the layers. All right. First layer is your underwear, be you a boxer man or a, briefs or whatever. So that's layer 1. Layer 2, if you're wearing long johns, that's a second. Third would be your flight suit. Flight suit zips up and down. All right. 4th layer is your poopy suit, your rubber, that's
Designed
side to side.
Designed to keep you alive.
With a giant rubber,
keep you alive for an hour.
zipper. The jaws of death. Right. On top of that, you've got your survival vest. Big brick GPS radio and all this other stuff. Kind of looks like you're wearing one of those maternity, like where guys, like
try to have sympathy.
Sympathy bellies, right? Like, here's what it's like to be pregnant. So you got all this stuff on.
And a harness.
Right.
It's cinching it all together and condensing it as much as possible.
So this would be me sitting in an A10 or an F15. This is me sitting in an F16. So now I've got 30 degrees of recline and all this, and it's at night, and I can't see what I'm doing. And I've got this piddle pack. This is what we use to, pee into. And so it's like zip, spread, survival vest, jaws of death, horizontal, zip down, vertical flight suit. Now I'm really like digging in there. Like, come on, man. So now I've got to make a decision. Am I going to stand on the rudder pedals like this and try to get leverage, or am I going to raise the seat, lower the seat? Well, I got to stand on the rudder pedal. So
can I just say that this is not something they teach you?
No.
They teach you everything else about flying the airplane. And then they're just like, here's your bag. figure it out.
And so, yes, so now I'm standing on the rudder pedals trying to balance because if any more weight left or right, that jet's going to go all over the place. So I'm like, balance. Okay. Pack. Open the pack. I let go of the pack. It closes back up. I'm like, no, open the pack. It keeps closing back up. I'm like, ripping the pack, like, stay open, you son of a bitch. All right, here we go. Where are you? Like, where did you go? So now it's like, get out. And then once you finally got it, say, okay, I've got this. I'm standing here, and I still can't actually see if where I'm gonna. So then it's just like, and here we go. And at the end, when you're first off, you feel the relief, but then you're like, please God, let there be pee in the pedal pack. And you pull it and go.
Or you're goddamn.
You're like, oh, son of a bitch.
Where did it all go?
Because you are wearing a rubber lined suit. So if you are pissing all over yourself, you
It's
will
in your
not
feet.
feel it.
And then you land after 12 hours and you tell the crew chief, I'm just going to take care of this one. Don't even go up there. I'll be back. I'm sorry.
Sorry, really, in Polish.
Yeah. That part is true.
This here is a true story about crossing the pond at night in the world's smallest cockpit on the tanker through the weather. Oh, and to the tanker crew who did that, thanks a lot. We really appreciated that. I'm just kidding. No, I'm not. Well, there I was, crossing the pond, and you could see that I wasn't exactly fond of all the shit I was wearing on that day. Now an F-16 is cramped enough, but it's even worse with all that stuff supposed to save your life. But we knew there was no way. Cause when you're going down in the North Atlantic, man, it's over. Now about 4 hours into the flight, well, I got a little nervous cause it was still night. I'm on the wing of the tanker, man, and I gotta piss. So I started fucking with the jaws of death, and before I knew it, well, I was out of breath, pissed off for cursing and saying to hell with this. And I seriously considered just pissing my pants. So finally got the fly undone, and I knew the next part would be twice as fun, trying to get the gopher to pop on out of his hole. So I thought real hard about naked chicks, lesbians and porno flicks, but none of that worked cause he knew that water was damn cold. And I cursed my daddy's name for making me half Polish. Well, I knew that I would need a little help to keep from pissing all over myself, and if I held it any longer, well, I'd give myself cancer. So in my hour of great despair, well, I offered up a simple prayer to Jesus, hoping that he might answer. And to paraphrase a bit, this is what I said. Dear Lord, won't you give me a 12-inch penis, just for an hour or two? I'm stuck in the trenches, and I need just a few more inches, and I'll give them back as soon as I am through. Now my faith was strong, but my strength was lacking, and I didn't have much time for this miracle to happen, so I thought the best thing to do was just help it along. So I started to pull and it started to pinch, and I thought I might have squeezed out an extra inch, but that sucker was wedged in tighter than your grandma's thong. Yeah, folks, I'm sorry, that was completely uncalled for. So I choked that fucker like a serial killer. Made me think about that movie, you know, the one with Ben Stiller, where the dude in the back was yelling, he was masturbating. Now with the other hand, I reached for the bag and I tried to take aim, but it was just a wag, and I knew my chances of success, they were quickly fading. And at this point I knew it would take an act of desperation. Now it was too much to hope I could get it to dangle. Well, the best I could do was a 90-degree angle and hookshot that son of a bitch like Dr. J. Now I never really thought about what was ensuing till I realized I couldn't see what the fuck I was doing, and I paused for a second and I began to pray. Dear Lord, you gotta give me this one. Dear Lord, won't you give me a 12-inch penis just for an hour or two? I'm stuck in the trenches and I need just a few more inches, and I'll give them back as soon as I am through. Now just about the time I started to go, well, old Mr. Winky, he started to grow, and before I knew it, he was at least a foot long. Now up in heaven, God got quite a laugh, 'cause it kept on going past a foot and a half, and before I knew it, I was holding the 2-foot schlong. Now I know what you're thinking, what the hell's he gonna do with that? Well, that was pretty much the end of my woes, since now I had a Johnson like a fire hose. In fact, the whole problem was completely diffused. Now what I did next, you might think sleazy, but at this point, pissing was just too easy, and my newfound powers, well, they just had to be used. You know, for fighting the forces of evil and shit. Now when it was my turn to refuel, well, I thought it would be pretty fucking cool if I did the whole thing with my hands behind my back. Now you might think that was the ultimate test, but the hardest part was really the ILS, 'cause I thought about your mom and I ended up well off track. Yes, slightly above glide slope and climbing. Now after I landed, that was the trick, 'cause what the hell do you do with 2 feet of dick? But it didn't matter much, 'cause the Lord, he came to relieve me. 'Cause when I tried to put it all back in the cup, well, it looked like my 2 hours were up, and I thought to myself, well, who the hell will believe me? Well, you can bet for damn sure it ain't gonna be my wife. Dear Lord, won't you give me a 12-inch penis just for an hour or two? I'm stuck in the trenches and I need just a few more inches, and I'll give them back as soon as I am through. Yeah, I'll give them back as soon as I am through.
Yes, Trip and Snooze and Eric started a thing called Operation Encore,
11
years ago? Yes, have I or Spec ever written songs? And these guys started Operation Encore, which supports veteran singer-songwriters, and we've been going now for 11 years. I'm on the board, but I started out kind of like we talked about earlier as the studio musicians behind the artists that they brought in from the Marines, Coast Guard, Navy, Air Force, Army. And we would back these guys up on their original songs. And we were making an album, a compilation album. I think we had 10 or 11 artists on the first one, same number on the second one. And I was like, wow, this is really cool, being in the studio and backing these guys up and coming up with guitar leads for their songs. And I wonder if I could write a song, which I'd written plenty of songs in my youth, but I came to Trip and said, I've got an idea for a song, and I played it for him and Snooze. And I said, is there any chance I could get this on the album? And he said, oh, we'll see. And so they gave me great inputs on my song. Snooze gave me a great input on one verse, and I put this song together, and they decided to include it on the album. And,
Great song.
got another song on the next album, and then Tripp came to me and said, okay, you're no longer an Operation Encore artist. You're now on the board. So we sometimes still get to go out and back up the Operation Encore artists. And I would recommend you guys get on operationencore.org and check it out. It's a great 501c. You can donate and support veterans who are great musicians. We've got an amazing stable of
I
guys.
think we got 30 or so now.
Yeah.
Artists.
My first song was called In Tent City, and it was about my experiences flying the A-10 in the Gulf War.
There's a cool video too.
Yeah, I made a
Probably
video.
YouTube it.
It's on the website.
Yeah. It's really cool.
Well, when it comes to those Gringo songs, we haven't written anything.
No, we're not. We don't cross that. That's like
They're all
a magic boundary. In fact, I put the set list together for all of our gigs that we do together, and I put we've got a song called "I Wish I Had a Gun Like the A-10," which is sort of similar to 12-inch penis, if you get the correlation. But they always add in verses for airplanes that have come along since they originally wrote the song, like the F-35 and the F-22. And they're different every time. They sometimes come up with them on the run as they're singing. And I occasionally, with Spec in Los Gringos, we play some Dos Gringos songs. And recently we played one for a guy's squadron commander party in the F-35. And so I wrote my own verse and I included it on this set list and told Snooze, and he's like, yeah, no. So there's a very, there's a wall.
That's cute. We got it. Appreciate your concern.
Oh, man. I don't know if it happened like that.
No, I don't write anything. I'm just a bass player. I just show up and
When you watch him play bass tonight, you'll see the magic.
You're gonna be
off
off the leash. You get off the leash.
Off the leash.
You're tethered. That's too bad.
I won't be wireless.
That's too bad. Spec's main job is to keep the drummers in line. Thanks for listening. Yeah. Oh, good. Did we just start? You want to just start talking, or
Yeah,
you want to lead it?
Well, let me just do this. So now it's chemo.
Hi.
You might have heard of him. He was a nav kid
Yeah.
and was worried about becoming an E4 if you dropped it.
Well, yeah, but I didn't know what that was because I had no family legacy of military stuff, right? They said, hey, just so you know, if you washed out of flight school, you're a non-rated E4 for 2 years. I'm like, okay.
Whatever.
And then I got there, I'm like, hey, what is this E4 thing? And they were like, what? So they looked outside and there's this sailor painting the corner of a curb yellow outside the thing. He's like, that's probably one of those non-rated E4s. I was like, oh, okay. So
Motivation.
a little bit of motivation. Yeah, it worked out. It was good. It was a good kick in the pants. But anyways, yeah.
So, I think your favorite song is I Want to Land on a Carrier.
You know, I'm going to start. My wife's favorite song is definitely that one, and we love it to death. I hate to think that my wife listens to your music more than me because I think I listen to it a lot. But I can tell you this. Back in the early 2000s, I was up at the weapons school, and we're flying out aggressor stuff in the F-5 and everything else, and we don't know anything about y'all. And this is, I think it's about 04, 05, and one of our pilots walks in, and he's like, dude, have you heard this song? You gotta listen to this stuff. And they play Choose One. Mm-hmm. And all of us literally are like, what is this magical moment that I'm listening to? Because they're singing about me, you know? And so at that moment, we were like, who are these guys? And we rolled in to try to figure out this whole thing. Because it's interesting. Navy's sort of older Army Air Corps transition got it. Music, the legacy, and the traditions of the Air Force because of that is immense. On the Navy side, we didn't have a lot of the singing songs. You know, we kind of took them from you. Right. And so when we heard your sound, I mean, we had at VF11, the Rippers, we had our garage bands, our cover bands and whatnot. But when your sound came out, we're in the weapons going, what is this magic?
What are we hearing? Oh my God. And the whole talking about me. So that being said, we heard Two's Blind first, and we all sat down going, this is amazing. And then it rolled into, and all of a sudden this carrier song came on, like, these guys are great. Oh, they're fucking with us because of the whole I don't want to land thing. So, but at the same time, like, I can't argue with you. Yeah. They have a valid argument. Who gets per diem on when they go to war, for God's sakes? Oh, they do. Oh, we don't. But I will say, that was our, at least my, generational, or when we first heard about Los Gringos. And at that moment, from that way forward, it really brought a more of a musical, cultural attachment to you all, because it transitioned services, because we didn't have that. You know, we'd be like, drink, bleh, ass, pussy, this, that. Sorry. You know, that whole thing at the club. But then when we're out drinking and we, you guys, there's your music that comes out, you know, and then your music plays, and I've got people like my wife just literally singing us to the top of her lungs your songs, and it's just kind of funny when she's like singing about a 12-inch penis. It's just the most bizarre thing to see it. I don't think that's weird. So you have spiritual, you have a spiritual nature about this. You control the earth. So we appreciate it.
We got invited. Nope. We played Tailhook at one of the radio.
Oh, you did? Oh, did you? Okay.
I don't remember which squadron it was. I just remember there was a big ice luge.
Oh.
And which I think is probably common. That's the thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
And
it was a carrier. I mean,
it was what that?
Playing one of the ice luge.
I'm not the expert, but it's a huge block of ice with a groove in it where at the top, and it's on.
If I remember, it was an ice carrier, and the luges were the cat.
Oh, well, there is that, or the block, but there's usually someone with a very well endowed set of bottles to pour said alcohol down to your face at the bottom, and then your face is at the bottom of the ice block catching said heavenly liquid.
Yeah, it was great, and that was the first time I remember us really playing for anyone in the Navy.
Mm-hmm.
And they really loved it, and I think that was the first time you probably played that song in public.
We wrote it for that.
Yeah, for that.
I was going to ask, when you came with that song, being Viper dudes and non-carrier guys, the way you lead that song in is like, you even have sailors going, fuck yeah, man, this song, yeah. Oh, 5,000 other dudes. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't think about that when I signed up. How did you get that set up? Because it's literally a wonderful setup for every sailor to go, you guys are awesome. Now you guys are fucking.
Well, then at the end, we're basically making fun of the cushy Air Force.
Right. Well, that's true.
So we're kind of making fun. The whole thing's self-deprecating.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
Well, you do acknowledge night dress, so.
They do.
Fuck that.
Yeah, that does sound.
And anyone that says that they love them, they're lying. I swear to God. But please.
Well, I mean, without being like a stand-up comic or something, but there's got to be a delivery and a punchline. And the punchline has to be something. There has to be a turn.
Yep.
And so once you understand that, because if you just sat up there and said like, Navy doesn't fly, you know, it's like, you know, there's 4 wires, how can you miss? And, you know, like, and all we did was just list all the things that we think is whatever. Well, that would just be 1, insulting, and 2, you know, just like, it's not really there's no delivery. It's just, if I just wrote a song about everything that sucks and literally described it as the way it sucks, it'd be a pretty depressing song.
Yeah.
So there has to be a turn. And so we came at it with like, look, I don't care how much, you know, what you say about, you know, we can all sit there and joke and be like, you know, God, the Navy, and you guys can be like, fucking Air Force. Or you can say like, look deep inside yourself. You know you want to take off from a carrier. Yeah, I do. You know it chaps your ass when people think of fighter pilots, they think of Top Gun. It does.
Well, it's not about Iron Eagle.
I know.
Because Iron Eagle's a music.
So you go in that and you say like, yes, damn it, they look, you know what I mean? Like, and so you're like, all right, so I'm going to start off with that. And I'm going to lead you to that. We're like, man, that's cool. and then I'm going to give you the turn. But, you know,
And-
because again, you know, it's like, but there's some, you know.
Yeah. And I can tell you this, every sailor up until that turn is like, fuck yeah. And then you turn it and you're like, yeah. Yeah, there's that too.
And I think I told the story before. My first cat shot off of the Lexington, I was screaming like a 6-year-old girl. Yeah, it was so like, and I went, oh shit, my engine's quit because it is so loud and so violent. And when you hit the end, the sound is just like, really? I had to look down and check my engines and go, oh, they're running normal. It's just.
And then when did it hit you? Like, I gotta go back and land on that fucking thing.
Yeah, well, I already passed.
Okay.
You have to land on it before you get shot off.
Well, and I think all of us as naval aviators love daytime VFR carrier ops.
Fantastic.
It is the most fun thing. It's like, you know, Disneyland. Nighttime, daylight, moon out, doesn't matter. Bad weather, good weather. It is absolutely the worst fucking event you could possibly do. And like I said, those that say, this is great, they're fucking lying. Because it's just ridiculous. Night shot, you can't see shit till maybe half a mile, and you're like, oh, there's the movie house. And I think I stopped. Thank God.
So, to get my wings, I had to carrier to qualify. But because I'm a carrier, I'm not a tailhook guy in the fleet. Coming aboard the lock at night, I thought I was hovering upside down. There's no outside bar besides those lights, and you feel like you're upside down hovering, going, you know, and it really screws your head.
I
think it's equally as terrifying, but.
I actually heard the most terrifying story. I think I have a horrendous fear of heights, and 2, just the idea of being in the water next to an aircraft carrier with just a crazy fear of being chopped up by propellers.
Yeah.
But I was flying with a guy because I fly for American, so I'm flying for a guy who flew. Prowlers, and he was telling me, he goes, he said, you know, at night, and the guy that's sitting there with the wands, and he's just, you know, he's just watching. He goes, and normally they kind of, you know, there's a spot where they don't go any further. He goes, all I see are these wands going back, and dude just fell off the deck.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh my God.
Yeah, at night.
Yeah.
Could you imagine, like, just stepping back and all of a sudden falling, 60 feet into the water at night?
There's actually a catwalk off the deck, unless you're on the bow.
Yeah, well, and on the round, on the ass end, it's just, there's nothing to catch. You got the scuppers on the sides. Yeah.
That's my nightmare.
In the Tom and the Hornet, you know, your taxi, the nose wheel is like underneath you or just aft. So when they'll send your ass right over the ocean to turn you, and you're like, nope, no. Come this way. I'm like, nope, not doing it. They're like, I just heard.
Well, don't worry. It's not like fighter jets.
Yeah. It's way back.
It's not like jets ever fall off.
Yeah, never. Not ever. That's never happened, especially recently. Yeah.
Days since Hornet fall off.
Yeah, 30 days since our last airplane falling off a boat.
No comment. I have no.
I love, because when I got out, I worked at Lockheed for several years, and I worked with a lot of ex-Navy guys. I love your guys' stories, because there's a whole way of living on a boat that I really didn't even think about.
Is that
like your rank determines, you know, like, where's your room? If your room's under the catapult, you're not going to sleep, or, you know, the showers, or the, you know, dudes who have a horrible nicotine habit who will, like, risk life and limb to smoke on a carrier or shit like that.
It's literally
things I would have never even thought about in writing that song.
It is literally prison. It's like, hey, I need cigarettes. Okay, you talk to him. You go over there. You know, I haven't had cantaloupe in 5 weeks. It's like, hey, well, we only have ice cream. I mean, it's like a weird MASH 4077. There's all these weird things that you have to do to survive. And the one thing that was prevalent was nicotine, porn, everything that your songs relate to.
I wanna take off from a carrier someday before I die. Strap that viper to a catapult and watch that sucker fly. 200 knots in under 2 seconds, that's my kind of fun. I do barrel roll right after takeoff, just like in Top Gun. But I don't wanna land. Allow me to explain and you'll understand. 'Cause it ain't so much the landing, hell, why would I care? You never have a crosswind and you never have to flare. You got 4 fucking wires, well, how could you miss? I can't think of anything that's easier than this. But once you're on the deck, my friend, you're never the same again. 'Cause you're stuck on a boat in the middle of nowhere with 5,000 other men. Join the Navy, hey, I don't think so. Living on a boat, hey, I don't think so. Hot bunking, yeah, I don't think so. Doing night trap, fuck that, I don't think so. Sure, I thought about the Navy, but decided to pass. I love my 5-star hotels and per diem out the ass. I do all of my fighting well within the shore. Cable TVs and cappuccinos, that's the way that you fight a war. This won't lie, it can go. When the coffee ain't fresh, sheets ain't soft, and the beer is only somewhat cold.
Right? I mean, that's why it's like a cross-cultural thing. We also, as naval agents, have to go, these guys are fucking awesome. You know, it's because we could relate to all of the stories. And so because of you've, I will say this, we've always had a rivalry, right? We've always had, and you're not Eagle guys, so I love you even more. And hey, screw. Is there one? Are you gray Jet? No, but because of that, I mean, you have really crossed the bridges of the culture of the military cultures that we've, as naval aviators, have really appreciated your music because, well, the Navy doesn't have you, and you represent us, and literally all of us have lived your songs, almost 80% of them at least, to where we sit there going, fuck, that was me. Holy shit. And it's so wonderful to have that in a musical nature, to where I have got my wife that sings it on Friday nights while she's getting stupid. I mean, it's just wonderful. Well, and it's just a great story, and we appreciate it. And the stupid wife thing is like sexy because it's like drunk wife naked.
What I think is worth telling a good story about the music in general.
Yeah.
Is, maybe one of the things that prompted Snooze to write his first song when he was still, you guys call it the rag, like in the art.
Yeah.
Is it on a pile?
No. But I'll let it. It's really interesting because you talk about music, and music's been a part of my life forever. Like T-Bone mentioned, Easy, me, and Snooze, and Spec and T-Bone. We do this veteran nonprofit music thing. Music is just such a powerful way to tell stories, to tell jokes, to build camaraderie, and it's been so innate in our culture in the aviation community. We didn't obviously start anything. We just kind of carried it forward. We recorded with Dick Jonas. We played with him and stuff. But in that transition period in the 90s and 2000s, some of that stuff was pretty old. It was decades old. Mm-hmm. Just like nowadays, our stuff is a little bit old. But at that time when Snooze was getting into the fighter business, before I even met him, he was learning these old Vietnam era songs. And I think it's a really interesting story of how kind of Los Gringos type music started to turn into what we have now.
Yeah. Well, so I went through Luke. That was my F-16 training in the F-16 schoolhouse. God, let's see. I showed up. It would have Was it 2000? Yeah. June of 2000 is when I showed up. That's right. And, yeah. And, so every Friday we were given a song to sing. And, there was one where Yankee Air Pirate, Yankee Air Pirate, a Yankee Air Pirate. And I was like, that sounds like a pretty simple chord progression. So I went home and learned it on just learned the chords on my guitar and stuff. And I said, I'm going to impress these guys. So on Friday, when all the punks get up to, sing the song of the week or whatever, I'm going to play guitar with it. And that'll really get them, whatever. And they were like, whatever. Like the dude showed up to a party with guitar, like, so I'm sitting there, Yankee Air Pirate, and they're like, my love. Yeah, I know. Yeah. And so they were like, all right, that was pretty good, punks, and then, all right, here's your next one for the next week or something. So I did the same thing again. I forget what song it was. And by the third week, they were like, here's the song you got to learn. And I looked at it, and I was like, okay. And they were showing me, and I don't know if I rolled my eyes or I just kind of went like that. And they were like, what the hell was that? And I was just like, I don't know. I mean, it's a lot of shit that doesn't make any sense to any of us. And they're like, hey, we got an announcement here. Punk dipshit thinks that he can do better, and whatever. And so I was full of piss and vinegar or something. I go, I think I can. And they're like, what? And so I was like, all right, well, I'll show you. Gauntlet thrown. And so I went home and I wrote the Wingmen. That was the first one. Yeah. So the Wingmen was number one. And
what about the mayor of that squadron? Was he just like, yeah, see what you got? And
that would have been, oh God. I think the one who was really who threw it down was, I'll remember his name after we.
Yeah. Don't get old. It's bad to remember.
Yeah, I know. Starts with a W.
You hear that?
I'm trying to. No, I'll remember it later. But it was I debuted the Wingman, and it played well. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
It played
Absolutely.
well.
Absolutely.
And now I think I sang it by myself. I don't think I had anybody else joining me at the time.
Knock, knock, kind of is an easy response.
Yeah.
Who's there? Right.
And
God,
so then they're like, "Oh, you can't do it twice or something." And I don't know. Then Jeremiah Weed was number 2. I probably am like, I remember Robin was in our squadron bar, and we didn't know. It was just a Friday. We knew who he was, but didn't recognize, all I know is that one of my buddies is like, dude, there's 5 old guys just drinking all of our shit in the bar right now. We didn't, you know what I mean? You're just plowing into our booze, and we're like, and so that's when I met Robin Olds, and I still have bruises on my chest because he, about 5 whiskeys in, he's like, what are you gonna do? And I'm like, yeah, exactly. I'm like, fuck, that hurts. You got 200 North Korean MiG-21. What are you gonna do? And I'm like, I don't know, but quit poking me in the chest. And I was kind of like, I don't know why I had that thought. It's probably because I went to take a piss or something. I think one of them went in at the same time. And I was like, that's where I got the whole inspiration of, you could smell it when he peed or something like that. So I don't know, but man, that was one of those those memories where it was just so funny. It went from some guy saying, there's 5 old dudes drinking all of our booze in the bar, and then showing up, and there's literally fighter pilot royalty, and you're like, duh,
One day you'll see him sitting at a bar. He's the one drinking whiskey, smoking a cigar. Pull up a chair and offer him a drink. It's a good man, he'll tell you exactly what he thinks about this country and what it's doing wrong. And for another drink, he might sing you a song. He's a hard-hearted bastard of a day long gone by. Mix of emotion and laughter in his eye. Worn out junkie on adrenaline and spit. Bite, bite, he's the last of the breed. He'll tell stories on how we fought the war, using words and phrases like you've never heard before. He'll talk of death as if it were alive, then speak of good friends and good times as he looks up to the sky, and tell a joke no man should ever tell. But it don't bother him, 'cause he's seen both heaven and hell. He's a hard-hearted bastard of a day long gone by. A mix of emotion and laughter in his eye. Worn out junkie on adrenaline and spit. Biter, biter, he's the last of the breed.
This is my multiple alcohol moment of just thought process of everything you've said, because it's all valid, man. It's all valid. I love the fact that we can bring the history and the legacy of fighter aviation and the cross culture. Because I mean, like I said, as naval aviators, we didn't know anything about you guys, and when you guys popped up, we were so attached immediately because of all the realities that you brought at a musical level. And it was just something that just transcended everything. So we stopped hating you. We stopped giving you shit. We're like, I love this song.
We really set out to just bring people together.
Yeah. Yeah, really. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, especially. Yeah. No, but you did it in such a way that was like, oh, we're giving you so much shit.
What I'll tell you is, we got back from the OIF war thing. And we're sitting in Clovis, New Mexico. We've written a bunch of new songs over there and a bunch since. We're like, maybe we should record this. We didn't have any money. So we're like, how do you record an album? This was still in the era where you bought albums and CDs and stuff. Yeah. So we found this, I wouldn't even call it a studio.
Guys,
It was a warehouse in Lubbock,
Put the
Texas.
lotion in the basket.
Yes. We went out there.
Lotion on the skin, real shit.
That was good. So I don't even know his name. We go out there and we record live. Everything on that first album was just acoustic, live, with maybe one exception of a song that no one really likes or listens to anymore. All the good ones were just us playing and then bringing some folks from the squadron to do some of the chorus sing-along stuff. They just showed up in Lubbock a couple hours down the road. And then we put it on a CD. We made some artwork and we were like, what are we going to do with this? I guess we'll just like give it to our friends. And then we started just taking like mail order kind of sales, just $5 a CD, whatever, and mailing it. And we didn't think it would ever go beyond our inner circle. And that's about the time that people started like burning music and sharing it online. And before you know it, like we have a website and we have people from other countries emailing us, asking us to come play and all over the place. And like it actually went viral to a level that I could never have imagined.
So not counting how much of your shit's been pirated, how many albums have been sold, you might share?
We have no idea.
I have no idea. Yeah. I mean,
it was easy when it was physical CDs because we'd have to order 1,000 physical CDs to get made at a time. So then we could, keep track. Now it's, streaming and downloads, and I have no idea.
Really, the industry has changed significantly.
Yeah.
And, people have taken the songs and made interesting YouTube videos on our songs. And it's great. And there's like a whole online gaming community that likes the music. And
really? Oh,
and,
that's awesome.
There's, again,
I won't die.
Around the time I was at the Pentagon, we just put out our fourth album.
Yeah.
And we started sending it out and putting it out there. And we're really proud of it. We put a lot of work into it. And then all of a sudden, we find that we're on CNN for some reason. And there was a huge blow up against culture, not directly to us, but we were part of it, about songs and traditions and things that, it admittedly had gone too far in certain parts of the community. And it got very public very fast. And we're watching the CNN clip of an interview where they're calling us pornographers, which is, interesting. And I'm like, what? Really, pornographers? And I talked to a lawyer, and they're like, you actually could be a pornographer if you want. I'm like, really? But I'm not. Right? I was like, no, right? You're not a pornographer, but you want to do it? Like, what are you pushing on me, man? So, anyways, we had to go. We definitely went, throttled back, and that is actually one of the things that prompted us to shift our energy toward the nonprofit veteran program, Operation Encore organization that we started, because we still saw the benefit, even though it's not dirty jokes, it's still the benefit of bringing together good people around music, telling stories, whether those stories are funny, serious, related or unrelated to the military. We thought that would be a really cool way to kind of channel all that energy while we let the dust settle from this shenanigans. And that's really what happened.
I think what's really kind of fun about that is I got to be in Vegas, a few weeks ago as you guys are launching Winglore Spirits, which if you haven't gotten your bottle yet, you best get them. What was really fun to see is I feel like it's almost a resurgence, a little bit of a rebirth. The amount of energy, the fact that this thing sold out and just kind of went like wildfire, and that we hope to do another event with 1,000 people. Like, I don't think that's a stretch. We didn't do any marketing. It's literally just the impact that you guys have on people, and people wanting a reason to get together and kind of celebrate, the nonprofits, the whiskey, you guys, the museum.
And it's even beyond. There's fighter aviation, but we're trying to. We think it's a fun thing to open the tent and bring in folks from other places, other organizations, other walks of life, didn't grow up in this culture but are intrigued by it. Aviation is everywhere, right? People go to air shows, they like movies, they love Iron Eagle, of course.
What?
Who? And they even like the sequels. There was one. There is Iron Eagle.
Chappie died.
There's Iron Eagle 3, 4. There's Electric Boogaloo. There's a lot of really great ones.
Very good effort, sir.
So, but I think it's cool. There's a lot of people that come from high performing walks of life, whether it's like the special forces community or it's the first responders or cops or whatever, who I think could be drawn to the culture in a different way. But still learn a little bit about what we all grew up doing and do it around music, camaraderie, and good whiskey. I think that's, and support a great cause at the museum.
Well, I want to give a shout out to guys like Rain Waters and Combat Learjet. Those of you that are aviation enthusiasts know these names because these guys have millions of followers on Instagram. And you're right, a lot of them we take for granted. They don't fly jets or maybe haven't lived exactly, but they're enamored and inspired with what we do. And we play, you guys play to a bigger audience, I think, than you ever realized. You're starting to realize that.
It's just every now and then.
And your event's going to live stream, which is great. It's going to reach an international audience.
Pressure's on, boys.
Can we get the link for that?
Yeah, if you just go to Rain Waters Afterburn Podcast. So Rain Waters, he'll have it on his YouTube channel as well as his Facebook page and his podcast. But just, if you Google Rain Waters, he's pretty easy to track. That's where that link will be, and it'll be archived.
And we're going to talk to Rain, I hope, soon. Yeah. At some point. Is that a competitor to you guys? I'm sorry if I just promote it. Competitor.
Absolutely. Broadcast everybody's show.
Excellent.
Everybody, yeah.
We never crossed paths, me and Rain, but I think we missed each other at Shaw by maybe a couple of months. So that's exciting, and I appreciate that. I agree. It's really cool to see how, even if it's just funny music, it touches people in a different way, and they at least ask questions, and they're like, "Oh, that is pretty funny." And we don't take ourselves too seriously when it comes to the music, what we used to do, or even the whiskey.
Honestly, if I could sum up Dos Gringos, that would be it. It'd be like the minute we saw somebody taking themselves too seriously, we're like, we're going to take a piss on that.
Yes. Yeah, that's about it. I mean, that's really, that encapsulates fighter culture. We're going to take a trip on that. Like, you always got to have a thick skin. You always got to be able to take feedback and criticism and be the butt of a joke. And if you can't do that to yourself and make fun of yourself, then I think you've lost the crowd. So every song that you hear that we've ever played, unless it's a couple of the more serious ones, is always at its core making fun of ourselves.
Robin Knowles graduated West Point in 44 after having only go through 3 years because of World War II, and gets assigned a fighter pilot, P-38s, then P-51s. 14 kills in World War II. 13, World War II. And then flash forward 20 years, wing commander in Vietnam, when things over there weren't going, as smooth as they should be. And he went in there and was an amazing leader, and flying the F4. Operation Bolo, which you can look up on Wikipedia and stuff like that. I know the going theory is that he's a double ace, but they never credited him with 5 kills in Vietnam because he knew that they would have made it go home.
Stop counting at 4.
Yeah, they stopped counting at 4. So he is a fighter pilot legend, and then took his handlebar mustache and went to become the commandant of the Air Force Academy, and flipped off the cadet corps because he's like, he's West Point. Good for him. He was what Robin Knowles was to all of us. Was every time we thought, if you were a colonel or a general, you're full of shit. All you're concerned with is saving your ass, making your ass look good, doing something, prettying things up, or And Robin was the antidote to that. Robin was, no, fuck that shit. You're here to be combat warriors. We're here to win wars. That is your only job. It is not to look good or, to impress whoever. Your job is to be the best. And so that's why he was so inspirational to us, because you start to see how politics and stuff, and you get dismayed with, is this really what happens as I get older? If I stay in, I'm just going to be like that guy, just shines his ass. So yeah, Robin was an inspiration for that. And so, Last of the Breed, it was one of those where I just wanted to say, thank you in a way that I was like, I just wanted to describe what it was like just sitting down and listening to such a different perspective than what, in my brief, as a lieutenant, 4 years of the Air Force Academy, you're not going to get anything tactical. And then for your first 3 years, you're starting to get it, but you're also seeing a lot of different stuff. So that was my homage, if you will, or our homage, because we did write that one together in, when we were in Kuwait, and we just really want to kind of paint a picture of, hey man, we may never see another group of guys like that ever. Yeah.
That's one example of a song that is not self-deprecating in humor, although it has got a couple funny parts to it. That is really just honoring those types of leaders that came before us, and that's what it's all about. So that's a tough one sometimes to get through. I try not to listen to the words on that one while we play it, because it does get you caught up in the emotion.
Yeah, I played that at a Red River Rats reunion, and this was after Robin had passed, and Christina was there. She was bawling her eyes out. Yeah. That was a powerful moment for me.
Yeah.
So,
way to end on a sad note.
Okay. That same show that I did, I got hit in the face with a bra that belonged to Christina Olds.
All right.
That is a true story.
And now you guys are the old guys drinking other people's booze and poking people in the chest. I think
that's about right. We're the old guys now. And I'm sure, and there are young folks playing now. One of them, Yankee Air Pirates, they opened for us in Vegas at Atomic at our launch event for Winglore last in early April. So there is a new generation coming, and there's a lot of cool stuff happening.
Well, I think that brings it around to some of what we've talked about in Winglore from the beginning. Is for us, this is about community, right? That's kind of where we started. We come from different parts of the aviation community, the four of us. But for us, we wanted this to be about something bigger than us, and it's not just about being a business venture. And that's one of the things that makes it important that we're here with you guys this weekend, because aside from playing an awesome show and supporting an amazing cause, this weekend we are actually launching our crowdfunding race. So we've been very lucky and have a lot of great supporters, and we've been able to raise a good amount of money to get started. And a lot of people, especially folks in the business world, would try to convince us to keep going in that direction and raise money from big investors, because it actually has been fairly easy for us to do, because the product is awesome, because the community is amazing. It's easy to get behind. But for us, from the beginning, some of the things that we talked about is we wanted to make this something that was about our community and that everybody could be involved in. We kind of talked about it. I know when I was a lieutenant or a captain, I wanted to say I own a whiskey company. I don't know a JO or a wingman or a co-pilot out there that wouldn't say the same thing, right? So when we started doing this and coming together with how we were going to create Winglore, we wanted to see how we could make everybody a part of it. And that's what we're launching this weekend. So where you normally have to be an accredited investor and make a shit ton of money so we could go out and find our United Captain friends and get funding from them, we wanted to be also able to reach down into the squadrons and give everybody a chance to be a part of what it is that we're doing. So we partnered with Net Capital, and anybody can go starting today and invest in Winglore Spirits. You can go to netcapital.com and search for Winglore, and for as little as $101, you can buy shares in Winglore. So we're looking to raise $1 million from small investors folks like all of us and all the people that we knew coming up, and that next generation of folks now can be a part of what it is that we're doing. So we're getting those folks in at the early stage. So as Winglore gets huge, you can be a part of it.
So netcapital.com and then search for Winglore.
That's right.
You can also go to winglorespirits.com or any of our socials. There will be a link to all that stuff. And then if you're an owner, not only do you get to say you own a whiskey company, that's kind of badass. You'll get a really cool coin. I'm not coining anybody here. This is just to show you.
I was about to go for it.
I'm gonna go up.
Get close.
There we go. You'll get one of these coveted coins. Ooh. Oh, it's backwards. It's gonna flip it, right? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I promise it's not defective. At least not in that way. So, yeah, so we're excited about it. And it, like Easy said, it's less about just bringing in money, and it's more about bringing in community and people who want to have a stake in this thing. Cause we think it's pretty cool. We think it could go really far. And honestly, cliche, sky's the limit, but I think we're going to be at Tailhook. I think we're going to be at air shows. All that is coming soon, and we'd love it if people wanted to be part of it. Carlos is here. He's our CEO.
Okay. Well, I got one quick question. How much does it take to get some good wings on, some gold Navy wings on that bottle?
So, I mean,
that's supposed to be a little bit of
just this was hard for us because we kind of thought maybe silver is the right.
Yeah.
It's not.
So it's tough. We came around.
If you look at the hair of everybody that's involved with this, it's kind of silvery.
You do.
I mean, this actually comes up. This actually is a really good point, though.
Hold on.
Yeah, go ahead. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So Ernesto is my real name, but Carlos my call sign. Marine Corps Hornet guy. Retired in 2016. Flew adversary air in the A4. Still do. Came back to it.
We told the story a little bit earlier. So you took a very vertical ride.
Yeah. Which is how I know chemo. And anyways, the thing that I got to, and for real, respect the Air Force while I was at Draken, because I had never worked so integrated with them before. And like you were talking about, chemo, just that crossover of the cultures. The thing that we really wanted to, I'd had this idea for a really long time, and I knew that Los Gringos needed to be a part of it because I was one of those guys who got a lot out of their music and saw the impact that they had of bringing the community together. So that really was the genesis for the Spirit brand. But we can get down to the squadron level and actually do work with squadrons or groups or whiskey clubs to be able to do barrel picks or something that they want to do in expression, and therefore do customized labels and put, if they want gold wings on there, guess what? We can hook them up. Yeah. So that's because we want to be able to be in the squadron bars, the old guys drinking your whiskey with you and poking you in the chest. Yeah.
So real quickly, what was funny is about a year ago now, Figgy and I went to Cherry Point for the final Harrier Level 3 demo. And we walked into the squadron spaces, and damn if they didn't have squadron marching. That was verboten in the late 80s and early 90s. It didn't exist. And we used to always envy going to the Air Force and seeing that they had bars.
They're heritage rooms.
Yeah, not bars. There are no bars in Air Force. Air Force squadrons.
I misstated. Yeah, it was amazing. And now they have them, because when you're done flying, it's okay to actually, have a barley soda or a sip of whiskey or two. So,
well, take that back to Robin Olds. Like, he enjoyed scotch, right? And so he would pour a thin one with the guys, and everybody has their drink of choice. And so we want to give.
I'll take the family.
We want to, yeah, exactly.
There's a song about that.
You're a four-finger guy, right?
Yeah.
Well, we really did. If you think about it, though, and I'm just going to bring this up because we all agree that Jeremiah Weed is part of our culture and heritage, and there's a song about it, right? So it is amazing. We want to still uphold that tradition in the sense that it was part of our culture. But we really did want to be a brand that was owned by our community, started by our community. And that's that whole thing where, hey, we're learning this business. We're learning about spirits, and we want to learn alongside everybody. But we want to be the belly button, so to speak, to be able to go on that journey with everybody in there.
So people can get it on the ground floor.
That's right. This is the ground floor. I mean, yeah.
First little is $101.
That's right.
Almost any airline pilot can afford that.
Almost any airline pilot. And I think any JO, any wingman, probably any aviation enthusiast, because that's it's not a cheap sport to play.
Well, yeah, the guys that are reaching out to me are, I was a former infantry and air supporter. I mean, I've got JTACs reaching out to me. If you've ever had show of force overhead,
We've talked about it before. What's the JTAC?
Joint Terminal Air Attack Controller, right? So they're the guys who call in the airstrikes. So if you think about it, if you're a grunt on the ground and you hear air, or you have eyes in the sky, or whatever it is, whatever platform, all of that integration. I mean, people appreciate air, right? Police forces, right? You have the helicopter guys overhead chasing down the bad guys.
Yeah.
Think about
now
it.
Even the drone community.
The drone, I mean, yeah, or whatever they're called. They're actually pilots, right?
Yeah. Unmanned aerial systems. Right, they're saving lives.
I think what's important is aviation has always been tied to excellence and just premium kind of amazing capabilities.
Yeah, you can't suck in aviation.
You can't suck in that. And so that's why, like Carlos said, we're trying to encapsulate that into a distilled spirit that is that level of quality and that good, right? Sure. So this is the kind of thing that, again, you don't mix with Coke unless you do it in private. I don't care what you do. Just don't tell us about it.
Unless it's really good, then please tell us about it.
But it's meant to be enjoyed, not by yourself. It's meant to be enjoyed with your friends and the people that you trust and that you want to hang out with. It's really tied into all that culture and camaraderie that we've been talking about for the last couple of hours.
And we're gifting it to people that are retiring, like our friends that are retiring. One of my first gifting is going to be to the guys who life flighted me. And I was like, I'm flying again already. I was like this though, right? But, it's like back in the air within 30 minutes of crashing. So.
You have a couple minutes to tell us what happened.
Sure.
What were you doing? You were at Cherry Point?
Cherry Point, Marine Corps Air Station. Yeah. But the good news was it happened on the air station. So I had Marines, like the guys who I'm expecting and maybe they were paying a little more attention to the A4s because, it is a Vietnam era attack plane, right? But had a catastrophic failure of a system, couldn't take off the runway and was kind of outside of the envelope, but the seat did save me. So I took a ride, very violent, pretty amazing. I remember it very well. Like I can. No, it was a stencil. Yeah, it was not a Martin Baker. So you don't get the tie and all the other stuff. It was like, dang it. But no, I remember the whole experience was like, wow, okay, this is working as advertised. Except, oh wow, I hit the ground pretty hard, and realized I had a lot of adrenaline, so I needed to sit back down and wait for the help. But it was the thing that was really amazing to me was, and I appreciate this about the company, like they told us we will never fly without a hot seat, if you will. And I always thought back, in fact, our pyro was newer than what the Navy has in their seats. So I'll just say that they took really good care of us. They helped me out through my entire experience. I broke my neck, back, pelvis. I was. Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. So, the first thing I did was wiggle my toes on the ground after, they realized. And so I knew I'd make some recovery, but I also, and it was funny, my wife, when she saw me in the hospital, was like, Winglore, here you go. This is full time. They airlifted me to the ECU emergency hospital, which is, I guess, in Greenville, North Carolina. So it was a pretty short ride. East Carolina University. Yeah, East Carolina, which obviously, ECU is a school, not so much, but the university was great.
Yeah, they get great colors, just like LSU.
Yeah, exactly. And they're pirates, right? So, but the experience was like, it's something you hope to not have to go through. There was another gentleman who, in a competing company, had ejected a year before me. He reached out to me, walked me through the entire process. And yeah, it was just good. I mean, everybody kind of rallied around me. They told you about how I went calm silent for a little while, when they realized, yeah, but it was within, it was about a month later that they were in my, kitchen. And my one trick at the time was to be able to stand up. And, we took a photo and it was like, all right, in principle, we're moving forward with this thing. And here we are.
Yeah, less than 2 years later.
Yeah.
And I think, Wacker said it maybe best earlier. And all of us come and got here from aviation, but we stay for the people, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It is all about the things that we live by. We play hard. We work hard, but we play hard. We take our jobs really seriously, but we don't take ourselves too seriously. And that's something that everybody can get on board with, right?
Yes.
We need more of that.
Yeah. So I always remember, what do you call a guy that's afraid to get out of the Marine Corps? Major. And then you talk about some colonels, generals, but I have to say we've had some colonels, generals, and admirals on the show from Panther and Nasty and Bart and those guys. It was always awesome to see these guys pin on 2 stars, 3 stars, that kind of shit, and go out of their way to take care of other people. So some of the good guys do make it up.
They do get it right. They get it right
It's
sometimes.
always wonderful to see those guys, make rank and actually understand what's important in life. And clearly you guys understand what's important in life. And that's
What is best in life? Right, guys?
And I'd be remiss if we didn't say that we're also going to do an event this Monday at Folds of Honor.
That's right.
Yeah. So that's an important thing because Folds of Honor is really a great nonprofit, and they give scholarships to veteran, children of veterans and also first responders. And so
we'll be supporting them up in Massachusetts, the Boston area, on Monday.
Yeah. Really cool event.
Well, we've been going right at 2 hours here, so I want to say thank you, everybody.
Thanks to anyone who stuck it out to the end.
Thanks for having me.
This has been amazing. So the main thing that I want to say is thank you to all of you in this room for your service. Tatiana, for your service as well, because families serve too. They missed a lot of anniversaries and birthdays and funerals and weddings and all the happy shit that goes on in life because service members are deployed around the world. So God bless every one of you who signed the check, and particularly thank you to those who signed the check and then the government had the audacity to cash it on you. We miss you, and we're grateful to you who have gone before.
Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son.
Now I have to face stupid reality again.